If you're managing clients on a retainer, have you ever felt like tracking hours turns into a full-time job? Your team might be spending way too much time digging through dashboards and adding up time logs manually. And when things get busy, time tracking usually gets pushed to the back burner. In this video, I'm going to show you a simple way to automate all of this so that your team can track time without having to lift a finger. We're going to be building an automation in make.com. It's going to be monitoring your team's track time. It adds up the hours across all of your clients' project lists and then sends an alert when you're getting close to or crossing the retainer limit. I've logged into our ClickUp workspace and I'm going to be working in the account management space. What I've set up for this automation is a folder to manage my account projects. And here I have a list for each client project. And then we have one list labeled all accounts. And this is where we're managing our clients at a high level. The two primary custom fields that you're going to need to set up for this automation of work is in monthly hours. It's a number field. And this is where we're putting the limit for the retainer. So how many hours you're going to be working for that specific client. And then the health of the account. And the way that we've set this up, you can adjust this to your preference, is if we are under the monthly hours, the status is going to be healthy. If we have reached 80% of the monthly hours for that specific client, the status is automatically going to get updated to at risk. If we've used all of the monthly hours for the client, it is then going to set that to critical. So that is how this automation works. So I'm going to take you guys step by step through the automation in make.com, but I'm going to speak through it very generally, just because it becomes a little bit complicated. But if you have any questions or if you're trying to build this yourself and you get stuck anywhere, feel free to add a comment below in this YouTube video and I can try to help walk you through it. Let's jump into it. So here I've logged into my make.com account. I created a scenario. If you're new to make.com, you're just going to want to create a new scenario and you'll come to the screen. Here, the only modules we're using are ClickUp modules and some variable modules, tools modules that make.com offers. So say, for example, I have an account labeled Dunder Mifflin. So if Dunder Mifflin, say I've onboarded them and we're starting to work with this client, I'm going to go ahead and change the status to active. I have a limit of 10 hours a month for Dunder Mifflin. So when my team tracks time in the Dunder Mifflin list, when it gets to 8 hours, that reaches the 80% threshold. So I would expect that when it reaches 8 hours, the status will change to at risk. So let's go ahead and test this out. I'm in Dunder Mifflin. I have a few tasks, so I'm going to go ahead and start tracking some time. Say, for example, I've worked 3 hours on task number 1. We had another team member spend 4 hours on task number 2. And let's say we've hit an hour and a half on task number 3. So that gets us to 8.5 hours. This automation would be running on a scheduler. The next morning when this runs, it would set the Dunder Mifflin status, the account health, to at risk. So let's test it out. There we go. We see that there is one project that went the at-risk route. Let's go ahead and take a look. And there we go. We see that Dunder Mifflin is now set to at risk. This is pretty nice because rather than having to manually track this every morning, we have an automation doing it for us. It's less work for your account management team, and it's much more accurate than manually having to look at this. Here in Dunder Mifflin, I see that the status changed to at risk, and I see that there's a comment indicating that the account is at risk and we've tracked 8 hours this month. If we track 9 hours, if we track 10 hours, it would say that specifically. If you want this automation to work accurately, just make sure that your team is logging their time consistently. Even the best system can't track what doesn't exist. So let's go ahead and track a few more hours to see the status of this change from at risk to critical. I'm going to jump back into Dunder Mifflin. And let's say, for example, task number 2 required like 3 more hours. All right, with that gets us to 11.5 hours. So let's go ahead and run this again, and we'll see this go the critical path. There we go. Awesome. Let's go back into all accounts. And there we go. Dunder Mifflin is set to critical. Let me go ahead and go into the account, and we'll see that this account is at critical stage and we've tracked 11 hours this month. This is so cool because now the account managers are able to just come into ClickUp, go into the account management list, and see the account health without having to check themselves. Let's go into the Dunder Mifflin list. We'll see it was 11.5 hours. So with our automation, just because sometimes, somebody might track 2 minutes or 3 minutes, we have this average up to the lowest hour. So that's why it's set to 11 hours. Let's jump into make.com and walk through this automation step by step. The first module we have in here is list all tasks. We're using this ClickUp module to get all of the accounts that we have within our ClickUp. So within our all accounts list, this is pulling all of those accounts. The next module we have is we are getting all of the project lists that live in the account projects folder. So the purpose of this is we're first getting all of the account tasks, and then we're trying to match them to their specific project list under the account projects folder. That's what we're doing here. And then to map those, we have this filter right over here where we're saying, hey, is the task name from the account list equal to the list name from the project list? So this is just kind of mapping those account tasks and the actual account list to each other. After we do that, we're going to be listing all of the time entries. This is getting us all of the time entries for the specific month that we're in. So this is really neat because it's dynamic as we, go into the new months. This is going to refresh. So that is quite nice because there's no adjustments you need to make to this automation. After that, we have a filter to get the time tracked for the specific list. This is an iterator, like it's iterative because it's going through all of the project lists, so it runs once at a time. So for each run, we are getting the specific list for each project. Something to make note of when you're building this automation is that naming convention is very important. What you name your project list is very important because we are using a specific filter to find the projects that match with that account task in the account list. So when you're naming your projects, we have it so that our account task names are the same as the project list name. If you're going to have a different naming convention, you just want to keep it consistent so you can have your conditions in make.com set with that. After we go through this filter, we are going to aggregate the time entries. So the way that ClickUp lists the time entries is it gives all of the different time entries. So if there's 30 different time entries on a task, those are 30 different outputs that we get. So this is going to aggregate all of that into one value. And once we get that, we're going to be setting some variables just so that we know if we have any bugs or if we have any issues, we can look at this to see, all right, for Dunder Mifflin, how many hours did it say that we tracked versus, what is the hour limit and what is our 80% threshold? So this kind of helps us visualize if we have any bugs in the automation. But if I come in here, what I'm doing is I'm getting the list name. That is the account name. I'm getting the total hours tracked. So that's pulling the aggregated number from this module right over here. The total time tracked gives us an MS. So this is just to convert it into hours. This is a formula that I'm using. The hour limit critical is what our 100% threshold is, so what the monthly limit is for our specific client. And the hour limit risk is our 80% threshold. So if you want to reduce this, rather than 80%, if you want to find out at 70%, you can just update this formula for that. After that, we are routing based off of how many hours we used for that project. So if we used 80%, it's going to go down this route. If we use 100%, it's going to go up this route. So if I open this filter, the way that I've set this is just making sure that, hey, let's make sure that the total hours tracked isn't the hour limit. So let's just make sure that we're not at a critical. We are, less than the 100%. But let's make sure that we're greater than or equal to the 80%. So that's what we're doing in this condition. And we also want to make sure that it's not already set to at risk. This is a very important condition to make sure that we don't have any duplicates. So if it's already set to at risk, I don't want for tomorrow there to be another comment saying, hey, this is at risk, because our account manager should already know that it is at risk. Once it goes through this filter, all it's doing is it's going to be updating that ClickUp task to set it to at risk. So here we have it setting the account held to at risk. We're using a edit a task with custom fields module here. And then the last module we have here is we're posting a comment indicating that the account is at risk and how many hours we've tracked. So if it's critical, same thing, we have the same conditions. Rather than having to do an in-between, for this one, we're just saying, hey, is it greater than or equal to the retainer hours that we have set for this client? And let's make sure it's not already set to critical. If it passes these two conditions, we're pretty much doing the same thing here. We're going to be using the edit a task with custom fields module to update the account held to critical. And we're going to be posting a task comment to let the account manager know how many hours have been tracked. And that's it. If you want to take it a step further, you can always add some additional modules at the end of this automation if you want to send some Slack notifications or email notifications to your account managers to make sure that they are aware that your accounts are at risk or critical. So there's always ways that you can modify this automation to your preference. And that's it. I know this is a super simple automation, but this can free up so much time for your team and let them actually spend more time managing accounts. If you're thinking about building this for your agency or you have another workflow you'd love to automate, reach out to us on our website at busy.org and let us know. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.